So in this lesson, we're going to look at what's called point-slope form. So more linear equations, just written differently. And what I want to make sure that we highlight here is that our essential question says, can I graph the line of an equation in point-slope form? So we're only looking at graphing these. Before we can graph them, though, we need to identify what this general equation is, and it's y minus y, and I'm going to go ahead and write this in a different color. Y minus y, okay? What is that? That y is actually going to stand for your y coordinate. That got really sloppy. Let me see if I can type that in and make that look a little nicer. So the y coordinate there we go. So that's going to stand for your y coordinate. And then we have y minus y equals, and we know what our m stands for. That's our slope. And then we have in parentheses x minus x. And this x is going to stand for your x coordinate, which I will type since it makes it look so much nicer. So let's go ahead and look at how can we begin to graph these. Well, first of all, we have to identify the slope. We have to identify the point, and then we're just going to go ahead and graph. Okay, so let's look at this first example. Slope. Let's talk slope first. We can look at our slope, and it says it's 2 over 3. Right here. That's how we found our slope. Okay. Now let's go ahead and look at and find our x and y coordinate. What I want to remind you is that the general equation is y minus y. Does my problem, my example, say y minus? Yes, it does. It says y minus 1. So this 1, and this is where it gets a little confusing, this 1, because it's in minus form, which is what we want, is going to be your y value. And then our general equation says equals m parentheses x minus x. Does mine say x minus 2? Yes, it does. So that 2 is going to be your x coordinate. So your ordered pair, we identified our slope. We're going to identify a point. The point out of this problem is your x is 2 and your y is 1. That is the point. And now we're just going to graph. Hence how it got its name, point slope form. It tells you the point, it tells you the slope. So let's get ready to graph. I'm going to go ahead and get my y-axis up here. We'll go ahead and get an x-axis drawn. And so to graph this, let's start with that point. Okay, we're going to start with that point. So I'm going to go over 2, up 1. Over on the x2, up 1 on the y. Now we're going to look at our slope, and we're going to take our slope from that point. So remember, the top number means your rise, so we're going to rise 2 from my red dot. The bottom number means my run, so I'm going to run 3 from my red dot. So rise 2 from my red dot, run 3, 1, 2, 3. This is where your point would be, and we can connect them. And that's it. That's how you graph an equation if they give it to you in point slope form. Let's go ahead and look at 2 more examples. Graphing these in point slope form, that's all we have to be able to do with point slope. We want to be able to identify my slope, identify my point, and then go ahead and graph it. That's it. Again, I'm going to write the general equation above it because we want it in y minus y equals mx minus x. Okay, so let's identify parts of this. I can identify my slope right away looking at my m, and it is a -3. Now remember, we like our slope as a fraction, so I'm going to put it over 1. That -3 is going to be the rise, or in this case, the fall, because it's negative, and the 1 is the run. Now let's identify our point. Remember, a point is xy. So we need to look right here. Does it say -2? No, it says +2. Well, my formula says I need it to say -2. So I'm going to rewrite this. Would you agree that if I wrote it as x minus a -2, that is the exact same thing? Oops, sorry. That is the exact same thing as saying x plus 2? Yes, it is. So this -2 is going to be my x value. We want it to be written as y minus y equals m, open parentheses, x minus x. We don't want x plus 2. We want to change it to that minus. And then let's go ahead and look at our y. Our y value says minus, so it is just a +1. And now let's go ahead and get ready to graph this. I have my y-axis, my x-axis. I'm going to start by graphing the ordered pair over to -2 up 1. And now we need to look at our slope. We're going to start at that blue dot I graphed. And my slope, it's -3, so I'm going to fall 3. And I'm going to run 1. We can connect those points. And that blue line is your line, or your linear, that's the graph that matches this linear equation. So again, we kind of want to go back to that general formula. Let's look at the last example. This is y, remember the general formula is y minus y equals m x minus x. I could kind of write that above that. I notice mine says y plus 7, so I'm going to change it to y minus a -7. That's the same thing as plus, equals, and we have -4/5 x, and mine says -4, so good to go over there. Let's go ahead and pull out the important information. My m, or my slope, is -4/5. And then my ordered pair. Remember, an ordered pair is xy. My x is 4. And my y is -7. So we need to go ahead and get our y-axis and x-axis labeled here. And this one's going to kind of maybe go off the page a little bit, or off my graph. Let's go ahead and I'm going to draw my y-axis right here. I'm going to draw my x-axis up here. So I'm going to start at 0, 0. I'm going to plot my point. I'm going to go over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to go down 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there's my dot. I'm going to start at that red dot, and I'm actually, instead of rising, we're going to have to fall 4 more. And we're going to have to run 5. I should have scooted mine over a little bit more here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fall from that red dot 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to use those. Oops, I don't want to put my dot there. I'm going to run 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to be all the way over here. We're kind of off the page. So if you want to extend your graph, it didn't fit on my 10 by 10 grid here. So again, when we are looking